explores chances of having the first astronaut on human space flight with signing of MOU with USA.
NDLEA to forfeit proceeds from illicit drugs to the federal government.
Nigeria Customs Service takes stock, says revenue generation in 12 months exceeds 4 trillion naira.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our discussion continues on local government autonomy.
The 1999 Constitution, as amended, recognizes 774 local governments in Nigeria, with Section 7 states emphasizing that the system of local government by democratically elected local government councils is under this Constitution guaranteed, and accordingly, the government of every state shall subject to Section 8 of this Constitution and ensure their existence under a law.
Indeed, that is what the Constitution says, Demola, but what you see in practice is a far cry. Now, the real problem reportedly lies within the state houses of assembly, predominantly controlled by their respective state governors. Now, these governors exert considerable influence over the legislative processes at the state level, effectively stalling any progress towards genuine local government autonomy and, in effect, ridiculing the essence of democracy.
You're right, Victor. The conversation on local government autonomy is a never-ending discourse for obvious reasons. And we delved into it yesterday on Good Morning Nigeria, where we had two senior advocates of Nigeria, Professor Dakas C.J. Dakas and Jibril Okutepa. Also on the panel were Honorable Aminu Muazu Meifata, National President, Association of Local Government of Nigeria, ALGON, and Comrade Ambali Akim Olatunji, President General, National Union of Local Government Employers, NOLGE.
And from different perspectives, they laid bare the sad reality of a local government system in Nigeria, the crying infrastructural gaps and social intervention programs. Although the ALGON chairman Aminu Muazu Meifata claimed few states have financial autonomy, the NOLGE President General had a varying opinion, insisting only 3 states have financial autonomy, operative within the provisions of the Constitution.
However, the panelists agreed certain recommendations are needed to eliminate the strangulation of the system. Critical among them are amendment of Section 9 of the Constitution, uniformity of conducting elections, effective scrutiny for quality leadership, funds to be directly made for local government rather than through states. They were also emphatic on strengthening accountability mechanism at these levels to ensure prudent administration of funds. So today, we continue with the conversation on local government autonomy with other guests. I am Ademola Adeoye. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
I'm Victor, as also welcoming you to today's program. We are reaching you on the network service of the NTA. And soon enough, we will have our newspaper review. But first, the news highlights with Mina Daniels. Good morning, Mina.
Hello, Victor. Good morning, Ademola. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the news. The 5th President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has been sworn in for his 2nd term in office. President Bola Tinubu was one of the guest heads of state and government who witnessed the inauguration of the 7th administration of that country.
The voters of South Africa did not give any single political party the full mandate to govern our country alone. They have directed us to work together to address their plight and realize their aspirations. They have also been unequivocal in expressing their disappointment and disapproval of our performance in some of the areas in which we have failed them. We have heard you. As the President of the Republic of South Africa, I will work with everyone to reach out and work with every political party and sector that is willing to contribute to finding solutions to the challenges our country faces as we transition to a new decade of freedom.
And as part of efforts to implement the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan, Vice President Kashim Shettima has laid the foundation for the construction of the head office of the Commission in Maiduguri. The Vice President also performed the groundbreaking for the second phase of the 40.48-kilometer Jere to Bow Road network.
As we lay this foundation, we do so with a vision of a Northeast that is vibrant, resilient, and forward-looking. We do so imagining our contribution to building a nation where every child has access to quality education, where healthcare is accessible to all, where infrastructure supports thriving economies, and where peace and security are the bedrock of daily life.
The Nigerian government, through its National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Space Exploration and Research Agency, SARA, Delaware, USA, to jointly pursue human spaceflight capabilities for both exploration and exploitation purposes. By this move, all is now set to see the first Nigerian astronaut to be on a human spaceflight soon.
Roadmap approved in 2005 for the implementation of the National Space Policy and Program. Our first human space flight was scheduled for 2018. This means we are about 6 years behind schedule.
But this human space flight is coming as one of those aspects of our deep space exploration. Like my Honorable Minister has mentioned, there are so many spin-offs that comes from this adventure, and we believe that so many areas of STEM research will be open for Nigerians.
The Nigerian Customs Service has recorded a 74% growth in revenue generation that amounts to 4.49 trillion naira in the last 12 months. Controller General of the service, Adewale Adeniyi, disclosed this while giving an update on the activities of the service and the period under review, emphasizing that the magic wand remains painstaking implementation of outlined policy thrusts.
122.35% increase in revenue collection during the first quarter of 2024 compared to the same period in previous years. These gains were attributed to a number of strategic initiatives. The revenue review performance recovery exercise that we spoke about earlier, which generated over 15 billion naira into the national treasury. The second was the 2.79 billion naira recovered from the 90-day window concession given for importers of uncustomed vehicles.
And all proceeds, including assets from illicit drug trafficking, shall be forfeited to the federal government. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency emphasized this at a press conference to kickstart a week-long activities to commemorate World Drug Day in Abuja.
Our watertight case preparations are unassailable. These have been further strengthened with our profitable gain with the passage of process of crime act. Apart from conviction, asset of a convict used as instrumentality of a crime or the proceeds derived from the crime to be forfeited to federal law.
That's the news. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Ademola and Victor after this break.
The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, CFR, invites civil, public servants, stakeholders, and the general public to the 2024 Civil Service Week with the theme, Educate an African Fit for the 21st Century, Building Resilient Education Systems for Increased Access to Inclusive, Lifelong, Quality, and Relevant Learning in Africa. Activities lined up in commemoration of the week are as follows. Public Service Lecture, Thursday, June 20, 2024, 9 a.m., NAF Conference Center, Jahi, Abuja. Guest speaker, Professor Peter Okebo OFR, Commissioning of Fish Housing Estate, Friday, June 21st, 2024, time 10 a.m., Gwagwalada. Sporting activities, Saturday, June 22, 2024, 7 a.m., Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja. Awards and Gala Night, Saturday, June 22, 2024, time 7 p.m., Abuja Continental Hotel, Abuja. Special guest of honor, His Excellency, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Interdenominational Church Thanksgiving Service, June 23, 2024, time 10 a.m., Associate Church of God, Mabushi, Abuja. Announcer, Dr. Deborah O.N. Odo, Permanent Secretary, Service Policies and Strategies Office. For Head of the Civil Service of the Federation.
We are live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge. My people, today now. Today, I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better, which gives 10X better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow.
You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
In a world hungry for goodness, with a splash of golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Make a lunch hour a happy hour. Change no thanks into yes please. Provide care when our nearest and dearest needs it most. And resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. The world needs moms, because where there are moms, there is hope, happiness, and love. Golden Terra Oil, for pure love.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
The lights are on and the stage is set for dreams to take flight. Who will be the next idol? Watch Nigerian Idol live performances every Sunday at 7 p.m. and you get to decide by voting for your favorite contestant. You can vote via website, mobile site, or by using the My DSTV or My GoTV app with no stress. To vote via website or mobile site, simply visit africanmagic.tv/Nigerian Idol. Click on vote, register, and then enter your details and a password of your. It's easy and it's free. You can also get AWOOF votes for your favorite Nigerian Idol contestants. All you have to do is download the My DSTV or My GoTV app and you have more voting power at your fingertips. Visit the websites for more information. Voting opens on Sundays after the live shows and closes every Thursday at 8 p.m. Remember, vote for your favorites each week and you get to decide this year's Nigerian Idol.
Nigerian Idol Season 9 is proudly sponsored by Techno, Stop at Nothing, and Biggie for every moment.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Up next is newspaper review.
Okay, and we're all set. Chukwudi Okoli is here, the papers in hand. Good morning.
I am newspaper fool. Good morning, Victor. How are you today?
Well, I'm all right.
Always looking good.
We can only thank God.
I would always like your sartorial outlook.
Sartorial.
I'm running a commentary on dressing.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Doing great as usual.
You're always a gentleman. I like the way you appear.
Thank you. All right, Victor.
Let's begin with the leadership. And the bold headline here reads, repealed Emirates law on easy calm in Kanu as court rules today. That's on page 4. Has two riders, APC, NMPP, on warpath over Kwankwaso's allegations. Don't throw Kanu into anarchy. Well, that's not attributed to anyone. And then the picture story reveals the Vice President Kashim Shettima unveiling, I think it was the foundation laying or groundbreaking for the Northeast Development Commission Secretariat. Okay? And above the masthead, alleged terrorism, Kanu opts for out-of-court settlement. Page 12. Atiku in Mina holds talks with IBB, Abdul Salam. Page 16. And then Nigeria's crude production may dip as ITO shuts 50,000 barrels per day OML 29. That story can be completed, is completed on page 7. And then trending, Obi faults plan to buy new presidential aircraft. World Bank's support for Nigeria over 15 billion US dollars. I think that's the much, okay, just a couple of other notable stories here. Edo PDP expels Shaibu, 2 others over anti-party activities. That's on page 7. And then court rejects fresh Kiaris bail application. You find that on page 8. Let's head for the blueprint. And the blueprint leads with that same picture story. Kashim Shettima cutting the tape. Vice President Kashim Shettima cutting the tape in Borno just yesterday, talking about the Northeast Development Commission. And then above that story, you have intensify efforts to secure Nigeria. CAS urges commanders with the rider Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali withdrawal, challenge to regional security. And below the photo story, police recruitment deepens PSC IGP crisis. Commission Workers Union wants Egbeto Okun sacked. And Human Resource Expert seeks investigation. And on the side column here, Wike Yusuf and Obaze Aremu, win some awards for performance. And finally, at the bottom of the front page of the blueprint, we tip bandits to access our farms. FCT women farmers cry out. Page 10. Ademola.
Okay, thank you, Victor. I have the Daily Sun newspaper with me, and just beside the nameplate, Nigeria under me better than today's Obasanjo. The details of that story can be found on page 29. NCDC panics over cholera spread. That's the major headline, and it reads, alert state government on safety measures. Lagos issues health advisory to parents. Schools. Details of the story can be found on page 6. And we have Fubara inaugurates CTC, directs audit of 23 local government accounts. APC calls for state of emergency. The details of the story can be found on page 6. Drug war, why we go after assets of barons, traffickers, Marwa. Court denies Abba Kyari orders bail. Details on page 4. Congresses, PDP extends deadline for sale of forms. Edo chapter expels Obi Shaibu Ihama. And the details of the story is on page 28. Alleged terrorism. Nnamdi Kanu seeks out of court settlement as court orders open space meeting with lawyers. Details can be found on page 4. And the front page pictures, we can see the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar exchanges pleasantry with former head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, during Salah homage in Mina, Niger State, and also with ex-head of state, General Abdul Salam Abubakar, also in Mina. Chooks?
Hello. The bit you read about the former president, Obasanjo saying, yes, I gender him better than...
Today is he's talking about probably the situation, security, economy, and all.
Was he invited to a debate over, incumbencies?
Well, I've not gone through the details, but let me just
determine context.
Yeah, you need the context to be able to talk about that. Otherwise, one will say.
I know you don't trust newspaper headlines.
Oh, I don't. Editors.
Okay, he was speaking at the Safe Online Youth Fellowship Boot Camp.
Okay.
Organized by a factory company.
He probably was asked a question. Otherwise, one would say, is there enough altruism? You're not expected, for instance, to begin to say, I did something better than
he was asked to reflect on
his
performance.
Exactly. He must have been responding to a question.
Yeah, to reflect on his performance and also
a man of Obasanjo's stature to just come out and say Nigerian Derby was better. No, so there must be a context to it. So I just wanted us to have that clear. Justice Liman is ruling of the Federal High Court, Kano, is ruling on the repealed Emirate law today. They say there's uneasy calm. The advice is, please, the court has the final say. Let people, whatever the ruling is today, go about their duties in an orderly manner. Any misgivings that might come from the ruling and all that must be taken to a higher court, of jurisdiction to iron out. Rule of law is actually Nigeria's first problem. Rule of law and order. When people talk, and when you talk about impunity, when you talk about things that should be constitutionally, but get distorted on the field of play, you're talking about a situation where there is no rule of law. Rule of law is what the UK people have. Rule of law is what the US people have. They are not half as religious as we are. Yeah, and maybe they are not also bothered by tribalism and all that, nepotism, okay? But at the end of the day, we are asking Kano people to please heed whatever Justice Liman, puts out today.
But so far, so good has been peace there.
Oh, sure.
They've been maintaining
Yes,
peace,
they have been doing well.
So they should just continue.
Let's encourage them, please. Right. Then there's this one, cholera outbreak, FG may declare emergency. That's from the NCDC DG. They are still contemplating it. Cholera is not something you want to contemplate, particularly for children. The fantastic rate of dehydration is a big problem. I'm not Dr. Chukudi. Let me keep quiet there so that experts will talk more competently.
I think they just advise that, these days, make sure that you wash your hands properly.
Very important.
And when you buy food, or especially fruits, make sure that the fruits that you buy these days are the one that you can wash by yourself. You understand? Not the one that they will cut in the market, and you won't be able to do anything
exactly.
with it. So maybe buying the watermelon, make sure you buy the whole, not that the half and all that stuff. So because you don't know the kind of the water that is being used.
Pathogens that could have been picked up by exposure.
So you have
very
to
important.
do all that.
Exactly. There are some that don't even cover. The watermelon.
They just expose everything to.
Yeah.
So you have to be very
yes.
careful.
The hand washing thing you mentioned. Let's water it down to what people can understand.
Yeah.
Those who wash their hands have a far lesser incidence of stomach ache. If you wash your hands regularly, you hardly have stomach ache.
Regularly.
So let people understand that.
But that also speaks about how available, hand wash points are across the country.
Please,
because
provide
you may not be
hand
in
washing
your
points
days.
for yourself.
You may not be in
don't
your
go
days.
elitist.
Remember,
the days of
the days of COVID, it was made available everywhere.
Hand washing basin was
everywhere.
Even at places of work.
But now they've been abandoned.
But to support Victor,
what
does it really cost to provide hand washing points? Victor,
everywhere,
you made a great point.
Just have places, stops.
We are usually more victims of circumstance, victims of self-imposed inhibitions. It's habit that is more of the problem in this country. It's not something one big money is needed to buy. That is why we're not doing it and all that.
But the problem,
so you have a point, Victor.
It's not that they were not provided before. They were provided, but they were not sustained.
Exactly.
Like every other
habit
thing.
again. We fell back.
Yes, so we just went back.
Exactly.
So they were abandoned.
Yes.
It was not sustained.
It's the same way we have a problem of maintenance.
I want us to have a heart-to-heart talk about the Nnamdi Kanu thing. Nigerian journalists tend to avoid it. I don't know why they do. Now, his lawyer, if this is reported correctly, is saying Nnamdi Kanu ready to negotiate with federal government.
Out of court.
That tells you that some politics is in his continued incarceration.
His lawyer actually said it in court.
Yes.
And the prosecution counsel said he didn't have the instructions of his clients to negotiate. To go into that.
The point I'm making,
probably be behind
the point I'm making, I see Nnamdi Kanu as a vibrant young man that should be useful to this country. So the earlier we rehabilitate him, the better for us. The more we are, the better we are at nation building. So you want to ask yourself, what are the circumstances keeping Nnamdi Kanu in jail? Long ago, I told people that it may not be the federal government holding Nnamdi Kanu, but people in the southeast who may be telling the federal government, keep that boy there. If he comes out, we're in trouble.
It doesn't matter.
So it has so many ramifications.
He's still being held by authority.
No. We're talking about what can bring him out. So when we are talking about negotiating with the federal government, some assurances should also go to people at base that when he comes out, so it's part of the negotiation. I want this young man to come out and be useful to himself and to the country.
But
I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Yes, my dear.
There's been the PICE-P, peace initiative by the Deputy Speaker to try and ensure peace in the Southeast. Yes. So I'm not sure that the Southeast will also be working against this. A lot of them have been outspoken in saying release. Well, many of them feel that,
I read a piece about 3 months ago where Ohaneze is saying, look, you might need to look within to consider what's keeping Nnamdi Kanu. I read that piece, I know. So let them spread the negotiation and all that. The important thing is that this man comes out, gets useful to himself, and gets useful to Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
And just before you go, I missed out something that could be a bit important here. It's a small cartoon, AKU, they call it. And one parrot says to the other, FCT women farmers tip bandits to access farms. And the other says, wither agro rangers.
Oh my God, agro rangers. Demola, this is 1 minute only. And there's one here, pocket cartoon. Fellow Honorable, during the annual Lawmakers football match, I suggest you take the throw-ins. I like the way you throw chairs during arguments. And the other man replied, and I suggest you should be in goal. You are an icon of kickbacks.
Thank you, Chooks, for that. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow again.
God bless you.
All right. So we take a break now. Good Morning Nigeria continues. Stay with us.
A good farmer is a craftsman of the highest order. It is said, great farmer, great nation. No farmer, no nation. Yes, let's set the ball rolling to build that great Nigeria where good food is in abundance, affordable and easily accessible. The Renewed Hope Initiative, RHI, an initiative of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, CON, is aligning with the vision and aspiration of the administration of President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, and is organizing the Every Home a Garden competition. The competition is under the scope of agriculture of the Renewed Hope Initiative. For the competition, women are encouraged to immediately plant a garden at home, such that the harvest can provide adequate food on their table and enough to give their neighbor. This competition is open to only women. She must be a first-time farmer. The garden must be in her home, and it is open to women in every state of the Federation and the FCT. Interested participants should do a 30-second video and a picture of the garden which indicates its location to the office of the First Ladies of their various states. The winner of this competition will be announced in December 2024, and the winner of the competition goes home with 20 million naira. Women, join the train. Be part of the food revolution in Nigeria. What are you waiting for? Let's get to work. This message is by the Renewed Hope Initiative, RHI, an initiative of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, CON.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
We're live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge. My people, today Today, I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better, which gives 10X better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow.
You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
Name a role that seems to always exist in most Nollywood movies.
Wicked stepmother.
Ritualist.
A wealthy man.
King. Mention an activity that requires using your lips.
Or risking it with eating.
Is smiling. Kiss.
I go with sock.
How do you do that? I really don't know what that is.
Come on.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and that God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
Write it on the walls like a hieroglyph. Against the wall. I'll be in my zone, in it.
Time to hit it hard.
Yeah, we rock the school.
All right, Thank you for staying with us so far on Good Morning Nigeria. And to kick off the second part of our conversation on local government autonomy, let's take excerpts cut out for us by correspondent Ekene Ndulwe.
It appears to me that governors of all the political parties appears to be political emperors in their respective states. So much so that when you see even what appears to be local government election, no other political party can win even a councillor seat. It's only in infinitesimal number of places that you can see that.
Most of the states in Nigeria legislate against Schedule 4 of the Constitution. All the collectible of local government have been hijacked. Number one, the issue of advertisement. State government has created signage agencies to seal the revenue of local government. In motor parks and garages, all the states in Nigeria have hijacked the collection of rates and taxes at motor park.
Let there be uniformity in the conduct of local government elections across the country, whereby one independent body should conduct the election. And there should be uniformity in tenure, just like what the president and the governors are enjoying. Let it be 4 years.
One of the things that we must emphasize is that unless we strengthen accountability mechanisms at the local government level, even if you ensure that by reason of financial autonomy, all the resources that are due to the local governments from the federation account should go directly to the local governments. If we don't strengthen accountability mechanisms, we are going to end up with a cesspool of corruption. So it is not enough to engender autonomy, whether administrative or financial. We must of necessity make sure that the accountability mechanisms at the local government are strengthened, so that at the end of the day, whatever funds are due to the local governments are prudently utilized for the benefit of the vast majority of the people that live at the grassroots.
Yeah, thank you, Ekene, for that background excerpt from yesterday's discussion. Now, to continue the discussion on local government autonomy, we have in the studio our guest for today. And joining us is Dame Pauline Tallen. She's the immediate past Minister of Women Affairs and former local government chairman in Plateau State.
I was councillor. I was not chairman.
Oh, you were councillor.
I contested chairmanship, but the Abacha coup disrupted it. Yes.
So you were councillor?
I was councillor twice.
Twice?
Yes.
So
and then I contested, but the Abacha coup nullified.
Nullified it. Anyway, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
So we make that adjustment.
Yes.
And also in the studio, we have the Jibril Sabo Kiana, former chairman, Kiana Local Government Area Council, Nasarawa State. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, and good morning, Nigeria.
Good.
All right, and from Jos, we have been joined yet again by Professor Dakas, C.J. Dakas. He joined us yesterday. He is a senior advocate of Nigeria and professor of comparative constitutional law, international law, and jurisprudence. He is also a former Attorney General of Plateau State, lead consultant to the 9th House of Representatives Special Committee on Constitution Review. It's a pleasure to have you once again, Prof.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for joining us. So let's kickstart our conversation this morning. I'm going to start with the former chairman, that's Kiana. We laid the foundation of what the Constitution says concerning the autonomy of local government in Nigeria yesterday, and from the excerpt that you saw there. So we want to find out what exactly are the roles and responsibilities of local government under the existing constitutional framework.
Good morning, Nigerians. I will crave your indulgence to maybe start by really appreciating Mr. President and praying that he will be the modern St. Paul of Nigeria, because his antecedents when he was the governor of Lagos State was quite opposite of what he's trying to save Nigeria from now. He was one of the first governors that created development areas and practically brought the autonomy of local government into dispute. And so it was a very pleasant surprise and very gladdening that he's at the forefront today through the instrumentality of his Attorney General to now refocus the status of local government into the discourse for the country. And he's seen it from the perspective that it may really be the solution to the endemic problems that has engulfed the country from the point of development, security, and all sorts of things. So I'm sure by the time he's finishing his tenure, we'll be calling him Tinubu Ahmed Bola St. Paul of Nigeria. So with that, I'd like to say that the schedules of the local government council in this country represents the totality of the activities that are made up of the daily living needs of the people at the local government area or wherever else you reside. Because indeed, every part of the country is residual to the local government council. So all activities that you know are encompassing your daily needs, from your taxes, the maintenance of your road, your refuse collection, your health management, your local education management, are all the prime schedules of the local government system. I just got the snipes from the last yesterday's speaker that advertisement, the collection of taxes in the park, in the market, the sewage management, everything else is contained in Schedule 4, and it's very clear, very distinctive. The state governors have just usurped all these daily activities of the local government system by stripping them of their funding, and so it has rendered the system inept for the purpose for which it was created. Because, and I keep, the emphasis has always been about funding, or loss of funding to the local government system. No, it is the loss of the political development of the people, of the country. Because once there is nothing happening in the local government system, political development does not take place. We lose everything else by having an unstable local government system in this country. The development of the political profile of individuals and the development of political ideology of the individuals are lost, because everything is usurped and done in the government house at the state today. So the loss is more colossal than the schedules, the daily schedules we talk about, because it's becoming like a ringtone for the country now, funding, and then the loss of not allowing the local government people to do that. No, it's the loss of us, the politicians, because we practically have nothing to do. You can't influence elections, you can't encourage emergence of candidates, you can't encourage the propaganda of political activities or agenda or anything that you want to do, because everything is assumed, and in fact subsumed to the government house. So the idea is that the loss of the local government system functioning properly, it transcends the daily needs we keep talking about about the constitutional provisions of the country. It is even worse, because when the human capital is not developed, the mindset is not developed to know his responsibilities every 4 years, every political cycle, is a greater loss than the inactivity of the local government council. Because the local government officials, how many are there in the state or in the local government area? And what do they do that you don't do yourself? But when you don't have the enabling environment, the laws, the capacity to have an authority within you which you can influence, definitely then you have a problem coming more than the daily needs of the local government activities that are supposed to be carrying out.
Okay. Let me, just for the purpose of having a proper understanding of when local governments became like this, because growing up in Lagos, I remember that a local government chairman, then Surulere local government chairman, the first actually, chairman was elected from my neighborhood, from the street where I grew up, and I know that he was able to tar the roads. We saw the road start for the first time. I could remember vividly how that road became at that time, an untarred road, but now paved and tarred for us, as well as other, streets around. Mm-hmm. Has it always been like this? At what time were you chairman? And was it always like this? Was it practice in truth? And maybe it will help if we also compare notes with Dame Pauline Talent later when you are done. Maybe she will also share her own experience.
No, for my personal experiences, I have always maintained in this house that I had a very noble experience because it gave me the opportunity to demonstrate that the government of the people at the local government is the most effective and useful tool for people's accomplishment of their daily needs. When I was a local government chairman, and with due respect and truthful to Governor Abdullahi Adamu, I was chairman between 1999 and 2003. Throughout our tenure, he never touched, nor instructed, nor got involved in our funding. All our payments were done straightly to our individual local government accounts. And so there was significant evidence that the funding that went to the local government councils were put into the needs of the development of the local government area. In my case, and that's what is standing me today, politically, so to say, because it is on record, really, that my 3 years as a local government chairman in Kenya has a standing record. With due respect and with all humility, I'm saying this for the purposes of the question that you have asked, that it is during my tenure that the council had its name rebranded as a developing area, as a unique area to come and see emerging democracy growing in true sense of it. Because I can remember that for 50 to 60 to 70% of most of the delegates that come from outside this country, that then president wanted to see democracy in action. He sends them to Nasarawa State, and immediately arriving at the government house after the courtesies, they send them to Kiana local government to come and see what democracy is doing at the various for the various activities we're engaged in. And the thrust of my engagement was getting the people to own the government. And so I engaged in a very massive enlightenment program for people to know that this thing is residual in them. And because if you don't make them to know that the programs you are bringing to them is their own, you can build houses, you can build infrastructure, they will not own it, and that's the end of it. And so we were able to lay the foundation of even creating ward development areas and build offices that are meant for every ward. And the leadership of such wards are not made up of political parties. They are made up of the stakeholders of the ward, made up of a chairman and a secretary, a woman member and a youth member, and the secretary was posted from the council. And these halls were built by the people themselves. They were mobilized to the extent they were able to build their ward centers. If you go to every ward in Kenya today, those ward centers have been used for film houses, for clinics, and so on and so forth. Fundamentally, that was the taking point from me, but also to provide infrastructures. We constructed roads. We constructed the secretariat that stands out as one of the most famous today in this country. We were able to institutionalize what you call liaison office for the state, for the government, for the local government. Because of the nature of the road then, we initiated a liaison office in Lafia so that maybe you make a preliminary request before you go in, because Ghana then was on the highlight of mineral endowment. And so there were so many inquiries that were coming in, so we had to open a liaison office in Lafia for that. And we brought in, we renovated water projects, the health centers, and all the youth were involved in at one level of activities or the other. If there was any project that we were undertaking, it was the youth and the stakeholders that initiated them. Because before I even went into the activities, we had a summit of all the stakeholders, regardless of the party, for 3 days. And every community identified what were their priorities. And each of those priorities, I can say for 80% for the tenure I had, were executed. So the people were alive. People came to understand that they now are part of a government. They cared less what was happening in the state. They cared less what was happening at the federal government. And so the issues of of youth restiveness was minimized because we had all these things that had become the nucleus of activities today. Small loans being given to people to buy kits for fixing tires for motorcycles, kits for repairing tires for trucks, for the machines, for generators. And during my tenure, the Japanese-Nigerian program was coming alive, and so There was the idea that light was coming to Kiana, so we were even ahead. We started recruiting people to train them for repairing of gens, fridges, and electricity, lightning and lining up of the houses and so on and so forth. So it was very full and very active and very engaging. And so because my funding was freely flowing to us, it was my responsibility to ensure that it was deployed to the areas of the immediate needs of my people, and it was reflective in their association and support that they gave me throughout my tenure.
Okay, thank you very much, Kiana. Now let's come to the former immediate past Minister for Women Affairs and also a former councillor twice.
Yes.
Now let's get your experience as a councillor. You know, what were the challenges faced by the local government?
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. Mine is a little bit different from his own case, but not quite different, because my councillorship was during the military under Abacha. So when not under Abacha, under IBB, when the former late First Lady ensured that there must be an active woman mobilizer within the local government as a member of the management committee. Remember, there was a decree where the management committee was comprised of members of the management committee with a woman. So there was one woman in all the 774 local government across the country to give us a sense of belonging. And I happened to be the beneficiary that time. I want to start by commending President Ahmed Bola Tinubu and all well-meaning Nigerians who have been upholding his efforts towards local government autonomy. We pray it works out, and that will be the beginning of genuine development. Because when you talk about local government, government at the local government level, it's the government of the people, by the people. It's the government closest to the people, because most people in the rural areas don't even care about what is happening at the federal. They don't bother about who is the president or the governor. What concerns them is the government closest to them. And once it's working, we have development at the grassroots. It's like a building. Without a good foundation, that building cannot stand. So I can describe a local government administration as the foundation of national development. And I must commend my military administrator that I work with, both as councillors and commissioner. As councillor, we saw clearly that the military administrator during our time, it was late Chris Ali. He did not interfere with the funds at the local government, but he closely monitors what is happening at the local government. And I remember vividly the problem within my local constituency. We had a drainage problem, and I took it up with my chairman of the management committee, and I was able to construct a good drainage system from the heart of the town right to the end of the local government headquarters, and also district areas. That really gave the people a sense of belonging, a sense of joy, and it made me really, really popular as their councillor. And that was the beginning of what put pressure on my husband to allow me pick the form to contest chairmanship election when the ban on politics was lifted during the SDP and NRC, and I contested under the SDP. So these are things that if local government have their autonomy, there will be genuine development. But again, the concerns of everyone is accountability, as Professor Daka says. The governors should be fair enough to allow their funds go. And now, if it comes directly from the Federation account, all that the governors need to do is to monitor and ensure that they task the local government to judiciously use their funds well. If that is done, then we will have better development, sense of belonging, and it will also curb rural urban migration. Because if things are working in your local government, you don't need to move away and come to the city. So that is an issue where we will have our youths fully engaged in farming, we'll have our youth fully engaged in activities within the local government. And that will help genuine development from the local government. And if the states do their own, it grows to the federal level.
All right. Thank you very much. It must have been nostalgic for both of you to share these experiences of many years ago. But let's bring Professor Dakas into this conversation. You've listened to the guests in the studio, and yesterday you were trying to prefer solutions to what we have now, because it means that what we have at the moment, the travesty that we have as local government administration today, began at some point. It wasn't there from the very beginning. And so what do you think? You alluded yesterday to the need for, after all of these fights, to ensure proper autonomy, and we get the funds to the local governments to ensure accountability. Do we have the mechanisms for governors to hold local government administrators or chairmen accountable? Or is it the people that we hold them accountable? What are the other solutions that you prefer to ensure that we get it right going forward?
Thank you very much. Permit me to, first of all, make a few remarks regarding the fact that Dame Pauline Talent started out in terms of her political career as a councillor. I think I now understand the context in which her life has essentially been one of service, from councillor to commissioner to deputy governor to a two-term minister. For me, coming from Plateau State, I think that this is really delightful news to understand the context in which she has devoted her life to service of the people. And listening to the former chairman of Kiana local government area, it gives you a sense of the possibilities in terms of the transformative impact of local governments if they're allowed to work in a manner that is fit for purpose. Which then brings me to the point that you raised about the imperative to engender accountability mechanisms, because this is extremely critical. As we pointed out yesterday, you can amend the Constitution to provide that funds due to local governments are transmitted directly to the local governments. But if you don't have accountability mechanisms, then, as I pointed out yesterday, you're going to create a cesspool of corruption. And the purpose would be defeated. It then becomes counterproductive. Yesterday, I alluded to part of the effort being made by the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, the NFIU. And what the NFIU has done is to require, for instance, that under no circumstance should a local government transact business in excess of 5 million naira in cash in a day. And part of the reason why you find a great deal of corruption is where you don't find the paper trail. And so if electronic transactions become the order of the day, then there's a sense in which this limits the opportunities for corrupt enrichment at the local government level. So what the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit has done is one of those mechanisms. Now, if you look at the law establishing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, as well as the Anti-Corruption Agency, the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, you will find that their mandate also extends to the local governments. And so there are a number of institutions whose mandate is consistent with the imperative need to ensure that there is good governance at the local government level and financial accountability. But at the end of the day, there is only so much that these anti-corruption bodies can do. It is imperative that we put in place mechanisms that empower the people to hold their leaders accountable. Part of the reason why impunity festers, even in the context of financial mismanagement, is lack of accountability. If you do something wrong and you know that there are consequences, the likelihood is that you are unlikely to do that thing unless you have become a recidivist. So the people need to realize that government funds are their own funds, that they have what it takes to hold the people accountable, which means we need to build capacity at the local government level. We need to build capacity at the level of the electorate, because if people also know that there are consequences for lack of good governance, they know that the people can hold them to account at the next general elections, and that people are going to vote not on the basis of ethnicity and other primordial sentiments, then people will indeed realize that it is important to be focused, to deliver on your mandate, and to earn the confidence of the people. I believe that there are a number of things that we can do, but ultimately, as I pointed out yesterday, the vast majority of our people stay at the grassroots level. And as Dame Pauline Talent pointed out, local governments are the foundation of governance. They are the front lines of governance. And it's important that we do everything we can to ensure that we're able to deliver on the mandate of local governments in a manner that is fit for purpose, in a manner that inspires confidence in the local government system, which in turn will hopefully then inspire confidence in democracy in our country, especially at the backdrop of the fact that we celebrated 55 years of unbroken democratic rule in this country. And we need to ensure that democracy yields the desired dividends for the vast majority of our people.
Thank you, Professor Dakas, SAN, for your opening remarks. Okay, you want to add? Okay.
Now upgrade what he was trying to allude into.
Okay.
You see, because the local government system has not been allowed to function, people don't know that the level of check and balances that exists in the federal government, in the state government, also exists in the local government system. Each of the years that I was a local government chairman, I presented my budget, which was approved by my legislative house, which means we had a speaker, we had council, which was the legislative arm of government for the local government. And each of those years, I presented my budget that was approved by the house. That's number one. Number two, there was this Directorate for Enlightenment, NOA, that for each of those years, the then director of NOA in Nasarawa State had a program that she engaged each local government into public discourse round the year. And every local government chairman, and I was, let me speak for myself, always presented to my people, and they asked questions on how their funds were being utilized. But these institutions were not allowed to function because it came to a point where the local government system was no longer functioning. Number two, you wouldn't believe it, that the most conscious population in this country that we have are the people that reside in the local government areas. Once they are told that they have responsibility to discharge, you will be shocked at how many local government chairmen, so to say, will be chased out of their offices and they will never come back. Because if there's enough publicity on the funds that have been brought in, if there's enough publicity on the program they have agreed that will take place during the schedule or during the time frame of a local government chairman, and it's not being done, the youths are so restive. Because, you know, it is not the responsibility of local government today that there are so many graduates that are roaming the street. So the local government system is already made of very vibrant, enlightened young men that know that you are supposed to do this or supposed to do that. But they have not been encouraged to develop even to how to discharge their responsibility to themselves. So the local government is more equipped, more endowed to really checkmate the activities of those who are responsible. If there is any riot anywhere, it is the local government people that start it, really. And secondly, the aspect that we didn't discuss is the security aspect, that it was also the responsibility of the local government chairman or institution to give weekly reports or daily report first and foremost in liaison with his meeting with his DPO, in consultation with the chieftaincy institution, that report is transmitted to the state commissioner. And so most of these things, this banditry stuff, and it was also the responsibility of the local government to superintend over the activities of the forest and forest economic activities. Yeah. So it is very easy, and it was also part of our schedule. I used to conduct night races on the route. I manned routes where lumbers were being transported in the night, and we seize them and take them back to local government areas. So the local government is so equipped that the banditry activities that the forest that harbors the bandits today would have been consistently under the check of the local government forest officers that also have a team of security people attached to them. So there will be no much room for people to go and hide there and launch attacks on the road or on the populace. The activities, the funding that comes to the local government system is checkmate by the activities of both the local government House of Assembly and the provisions of Section 7 that is already in the Constitution, because positively minded a state governor will ensure that the House of Assembly passes laws that will encourage the proper utilization of funds and monitors the budget execution of the local government area, not to strangulate them. And because also the state government will be also making her own financial input, because every 10% of the total income of a local of the state is supposed to be, part of the funding that goes to the local government every month. And so with the mechanism of the state houses of assembly laws, and the bylaws that the local government houses of, their own legislative arm will do, and the mobilized, highly mobilized populace, and the Directorate of NOA, National Orientation Agency, are all focused. That's where the activities go on, every market day. You understand me? So if the local government system is allowed to sprout, like Her Excellency said, anything that you will not believe will happen in Nigeria will be like a momentous growth for political activities, for economic activities, for everybody to have a sense of belonging in this country. Okay. And so most of these activities are already in place. It's just that we are not allowed them to take place and begin to function as it were.
Thank you very much, Kiana, for that addition there. Let's bring in Dame Pauline Talent again. You stated that it's obvious, actually, because if there is no foundation, there's nothing you can build any structure on. And the local government is supposed to be the bedrock of development in this country. Yeah. But why is it that the state government, you've been deputy governor, you've been a commissioner, why do you think actually that the state government are taking over the responsibility of the local government? Because it's really it's staggering, because you want to find out that, because that is where the development comes from. From what he said, if you want security, start from the local government. Yeah. If you want education, start from the local government. Health, start from the local government. So why are you trying to, what is the problem actually?
Thank you very much. It is sad to note that governors usurp the powers of the local government by taking over their funds. It is unfortunate because, in the first place, a good governor, if you have the fear of God and you are there to govern, to serve your people, because the people voted you in to serve them, and service must entail the fear of God and doing that which is right. If you are genuinely there as an elected governor, your prayer is to see that you ensure the dividends of the democracy reaches the people. But where they usurp this power and strangulate the local governments, nothing happens. The problem of kidnapping, the problem of having bandits in the forest is all because the local governments have been usurped of their power.
Even
if forest guards, yes, security-wise, forest guards, if they are allowed to do their work, fully supported, engage the youths, because the youths in every community are the vanguards. If the youths are carried along, if the women are carried along, because the women and the youths, they are the heart of the nation, because mothers are concerned about what is happening within the family. I mean, when you talk of development, it starts from the home. The home, the community, the society, and the local government at large. So if I give an example of my tenure as a councillor. Before I was even nominated as a councillor, I was the first woman that mobilized women within the local government to form the National Council of Women Society by creating awareness in women that they must serve, they must be part of what is happening within their community. You must be concerned about what is happening within your neighborhood, the hospital, that time the post office was working, where these are areas where social activities, things that affect the community, the hospital, the roads to the hospital, when the grass grows or people poured refuse to block the road, I mobilized women for us to come out, clear the roads, go in within the hospitals, clean the environment so that people that come to stay with their relations in the hospital will have a safe place to stay within. Things that when those communities or those institutions cannot do, the community do it. So we create awareness in women and youths, and we also involve the traditional rulers, because before you get the women to leave the marketplace to come and do this community service, you must engage the community leaders. That's the traditional rulers, the ward heads, to allow the town crier to announce that on so-so day, there is going to be a community development assignment for people to go out. When you get people fully involved in the day-to-day activities of their community, they will checkmate what is happening. And that was why my tenure as councillor, the first tenure, was quite controversial, because I was like a watchdog to the mismanagement of funds.
Okay.
To the point that my chairman reported me that I was giving him problems.
So you had checks and balances?
Yes, because the councillors, the members of the management committee were like councillors. And I made it a point of duty to checkmate, to find out what comes in and how it is used. So by the time I was reported to the state government, the commissioner for local government, I was invited by the military administration. And I opened up and I said everything. And I was protected, because security report proved me right at the local government. And that was what led to my being reappointed the second time when Onoja came back came in as a military administrator. I served under 2 military administrators because I stood for the people, I was the voice of the people, and I made sure that what was meant for the local government was properly utilized.
Okay.
The same thing, I had the same experience when I served as commissioner. I again served twice under Colonel Mana, who was also very, very committed and strict to ensure that local government management committee were properly tasked and monitored. He set targets and we followed closely. So elected governors can do it. All you need to do is allow them perform, monitor, set targets for them, and let the people be involved in what concerns them. That's the need assessment. You should have community town hall meetings with the people, discuss which are your priority.
Is it the state government that you set target for them, for the local government? Wouldn't that be interference?
No, Not the, I mean, during the military. But what I'm saying that
because if
now,
they should set targets,
yes,
which means they will be interfering.
no, they don't
in the
interfere
function of
because the funds are not with them. But the community will set targets.
Yes.
The councillors at the local government should also be the voice of the people, because they should be able to, from time to time, have community engagement with the people. And within this community, these are our priorities. Either we want boreholes, or our schools renovated, our schools equipped, healthcare services.
On what basis they will also be assessed?
Assessed.
But let me stay with you. I understand that you have just a few minutes to spend with us.
Yes.
So let me stick with you. What are the likely political implications of having a functional local government system? It serves us well that you have served at that level, you have served at the state level, you have also held office at the federal level. What are the political implications? Apart from the money, what do you think are the concerns of state governors?
The concerns of state governors should be good governors. Ideally, a good governor should be concerned with giving the dividends of democracy to its people. And if you are given the dividends of democracy to your people, it speaks for you. Sometimes I wonder why people become so greedy. They believe in just usurping money. But good works will speak for you. If you are concerned with delivering the dividends of democracy, you perform, you do what gladdens the hearts of your community, your second tenure will be a walkover, because the people will want you to come back and continue the good work. People are aware of their rights. People know what is good and what they need within that community, both local government and states. And it doesn't cost you anything to do the right thing. When you do the right thing, in fact, you benefit more. You become more popular, the people will pray for you, and the words of the people, prayers of the people works, because when people keep cursing you, raining insults on you, it will affect you. Even if it doesn't affect, it will affect right through the next.
What are the political implications of having a functional local government system?
The political implication is that there will be development, the people will be happy, there will be peace and security, because where you see problems arising here and there is because there's this affection.
Okay.
When people are happy, they will be part of that government.
Okay.
When people are happy, they will be the watchdog. They will identify and report things that are not right within the community, because our ward heads, our community leaders know the bandits, know strangers when they come in. But if everybody is happy with what you are doing, the implication is that there will be good governance, there will be peace, things will flourish, and the people will be happy.
Thank you very much, Dame Pauline Talent, for your thoughts there. Now let's go back to our Zoom guest, Professor Dakas, SAN. Let's bring you into the conversation again. Let's consider what happens in other climes where we're talking about local government autonomy. How do they run their own local government, and what can we borrow from other climes in order for us to have a functional and workable local government in this country?
Thank you very much. I take, for instance, the example of the United States that I'm familiar with. And in the United States system, you find that governance devolves to the lowest levels. If you take, for instance, the subject of policing, which is part of the conversation that transpired yesterday, you find that policing goes all the way to even the campus police. At the university where I did my postgraduate studies in New York, we had a campus police. And so you have responsibilities devolving to the lowest levels. But in the United States, for instance, unlike what happens in this country, where you have, as somebody would say, feeding bottle federalism. You have to go to the federation account to get funds. In the US system, there is no such feeding bottle federalism. You have to raise your funds and use the funds to sustain yourself. And so when you look at the fourth schedule to the Constitution, which sets out the functions of local governments, if local governments are allowed to optimally exercise those roles, at the end of the day, those are the mechanisms through which they can generate the funds. And they will invariably have to be prudent in the management of the funds, because if they don't, and along with the taxes that they collect, if they don't raise sufficient funds to sustain the local governments, then they eventually become bankrupt. If you have followed developments in the United States, there are a number of municipalities and mayoralties that have actually been declared bankrupt. So if you have a situation in which people realize that the manner in which they manage the resources, the manner in which they provide services for their people will ultimately determine their viability, then people will sit up. Ask yourself, except for our feeding bottle federalism, there are many of our states and local governments that should ordinarily be self-sustaining, that should ordinarily be viable. But if you look at the statistics, apart from Lagos, Ogun, Rivers, probably Kano, Delta, maybe Akwa Ibom, and others, many of the states as they stand today are not even viable.
I think we seem to have lost him there, maybe due to network. Okay, he's back. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just making the point that part of what we need to do is to address this feeding bottle federalism that we grapple with. Let us look inwards. Let us explore ways through which we can ensure that our states are viable. If you take Plateau State, for instance, if we leverage tourism, if we leverage our weather, if we leverage our agriculture and other dynamics, there's absolutely no reason why we cannot be viable. And the same is true of many other states. Nigeria is one of the most endowed countries in the world. But Hillary Clinton made a very profound statement that Nigeria is too rich to be poor and yet too poor to be rich. That's the kind of paradox that we are confronted with. And so part of the responsibility of governance to come back to the role of local governments and how this plays out in other climes is to make sure that, consistent with the fact that they are the bedrock, they are the foundation of governance, if we impact will be more readily by the people can breathe, and they will appreciate our democracy in a very profound way, which will in turn have ripple effects in terms of advancing the cause of democracy at other tiers of government. And so we need to really take a second look at the local government system in a more profound manner that will deliver the dividends of democracy for the people beyond the system that we have at the moment.
With you, Professor Darkas, please. Now, at the moment, what we have is that the federal government has gone to court and the state governments have met them there. You know, like when you say to somebody, meet me in court. And where do you see all of this being resolved? And how do we make progress from there? Is there a likely political solution to this instead of going through the courts?
First of all, Mr. President, as well as the Attorney General of the Federation, for taking that initiative to go to court. And to court through the instrumentality of the office against the state attorneys general. It then enables the Attorney General Federation to invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And once that happens, then there's the likelihood that the matter gets addressed within a very short period of time. If this matter were to go before a federal high court or a state high court, the likelihood is that in the next 5-10 years, the matter is not resolved. And if you have followed the developments that are unfolding, many of the states have raised objections to the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in this matter. They're insisting that the matter should go through the entire gamut of coming up from the High Court to the Supreme Court, and you know that takes almost an eternity. But if the Supreme Court comes to the conclusion that this is the right circumstance under which its original jurisdiction can be invoked, then you can be sure that perhaps in a month or less, the Supreme Court would make a definitive pronouncement on the subject. And indeed, regarding the constitutionality of the caretaker committees, the Supreme Court has made that very clear, from Ekiti to Oyo and a number of other states. Where we're likely to have a sticky point is whether, if you have transition committees or caretaker committees, the funds that are due to local governments should not be released to those caretaker committees. That might be one aspect of it. But ultimately, beyond the intervention of the judiciary is the political solution. And I'm delighted that Mr. President is leading from the front in this respect. And in the American system, there is what is called the power of the bully pulpit. Not necessarily that Mr. President is going to bully the states, but that Mr. President can leverage the power of his office to ensure that he leads from the front to push this agenda forward. That's one political dimension. But the other dimension is to come back to constitutional amendment, as I pointed out yesterday. If you look at the dynamics, at this point, the majority of states are not on board. Now, what do we need to do to get these states on board? Beyond what Mr. President can do, can we look at the dynamics at play? To give you an example, if you look at the last constitutional amendment exercise, the governor of Bauchi State was in office. And I mentioned governor because, as you know, many governors wield considerable influence on their state houses of assembly. He was the governor in office. He has been re-elected. He is the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. Can he be a partner in this journey to mobilize the governors elected on the platform of the PDP? The governor of Kwara State is the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. In the last constitutional amendment exercise, Kwara State is one of the states that did not make returns to the National Assembly. So we couldn't say at that point what the position of the Kwara State government was. But I read a statement recently credited to the governor, who has also been re-elected, that is for local government autonomy. So can we get the governor of Kwara State to mobilize his colleagues? If you look at the governor of Imo State, he is the governor of the he is the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum. And the last exercise, Imo State voted for administrative autonomy. I'm not sure either administrative autonomy or financial autonomy, but didn't vote for the other. Now, can we get him to mobilize his colleagues? At the moment, the chairman of the Conference of Speakers is the Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly. Now, if we have a sense of how the Oyo State governor is going to push this agenda forward, then we can be more constructive and strategic in terms of getting them on board.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Dakas, SAN, for providing some solutions to this issue of local government autonomy. We'll take a break now. When we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we are more than just a nation. We are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives, we
with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Meet lovebirds Jayola and Adama Davies. Their dream of living together as man and wife has finally been fulfilled.
The latest couple in town.
Mr. and Mrs. Jaya Davis! But an invasion by their troublesome families was not a scenario they bargained for. Her mother moves in. His mother shows up with his little niece. Then her younger sister joins the scramble.
You want to stay?
Married life suddenly becomes very complicated even before it started. Follow their story on this channel as they confront every challenge as it comes. Family forever, the story of our lives.
This na Go TV, and now for here you fit watch better football from Mbappe. Ball wey Kane use the TNet, Ronaldo. And all the big boys we go follow drag the who go be Oga of Europe. Now who go become the Baba of Europe? Watch all the 51 games live on Top Super Sport from GoTV Jolly to Super Plus and GoTV Stream. Euro 2024 live. It goes sweet on Top GoTV. Love it.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
Euro 2024, live on Sporty TV.
You're welcome back. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And our conversation today is on local government autonomy. And we still have our guest in the studio. But one of our guests, Dame Pauline Talon, who will soon be leaving. But before you leave, I want to ask this question, because you have served at both the local, state, and the federal levels. So how should coordination between different tiers of government be strengthened to enhance service delivery?
Thank you very much. Before I answer that question, I want to commend my dear brother, Professor Dakas, for bringing in the issue of the filibuster federalism that we are practicing in Nigeria. It is really, really sad, because Nigeria is blessed beyond measure in all facets of life, both human and natural resources. Every local government is blessed with a lot of natural resources that if we harness on that, we don't need to rely on the federal allocation. We've seen it in Lagos, and it can be happen in any other state. The problem we are having now, we are happy, and I thank God that God is using the president to fight for the autonomy of the local governments. My take on this is that all our state governors should key in if they are truly leaders that are elected by the people. Because when you talk of federation, the 3 tiers of government should be independent. The 3 tiers of government should be allowed to perform effectively. How do they perform effectively? If their funds are being strangulated at the state level, they become as beggars to the state governors, which is not the right thing. I want to lend my voice as mothers of the nation. We are appealing to our state governors to align with Mr. President on this issue for local government autonomy, that this matter should not be dragged too long. It is clear that funds meant for the local government should be given to them and they should be allowed to perform. We have civil society organizations at the local government that will checkmate. And the people with enough awareness, the people at the local government will rise against any chairman that doesn't effectively use these funds. The same thing at the state level. If the state level should use the funds that are meant for development within the states, Nigeria will be better off. So we should use and enhance the local resources we have, but at the local government, at the state level, encourage local industries to make sure that the blessings God has blessed us within our communities are properly harnessed to the benefit of the people. And if this is done at local government, states, and the federal level, things will go well. But the sincerity of purpose, the fear of God, the sincerity of purpose in ensuring that what belongs to the people goes to the people, that will bring peace, that will bring development, that will even make you, the governor or the chairman or the president, more popular, because people are seeing once things are done the right way, people will support you, people will bless you, and the country will flourish.
Thank you very much.
So it doesn't cost anybody anything to do the right thing. Let us fight corruption. Let us ensure that we do the right thing at the right time. And that everybody will be happy and better off for it. And we'll have a prosperous and a developed country that we all dream and pray for.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Dame Pauline Tallen, immediate past Minister of Women Affairs and former councillors, local government twice in Plateau State, a former commissioner, and also former deputy governor. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Thanks for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. So we can now excuse you.
Okay.
All right. Victor, you want to ask Professor Daka some questions?
Well, we have Professor Daka's talking to us earlier about the legal implications and what could be done, whether legally or administratively or even politically. But I just want to take this as your parting shot and briefly too, what you think will happen to the need for centralized policies and all that, given the quest for local government autonomy to be entrenched. How do you think we can balance all of them out?
Thank you very much. I think it is important that we strengthen the local government system. As the chairman of Algon pointed out in the course of our conversation yesterday, if you have uniformity of tenure, for instance, it will help the level of address the challenge of arbitrariness and the pace at which quite a number of local governments are dissolved and the system essentially at the mercy of some of the governors. And I say some of the governors because it's not every governor that is actually respect. There are a number of governors, few that they may be, that are living up to expectation of the imperative need to strengthen the local government system, but there are very few. And since this is my parting shot, I think that it is critical to underscore the fact that at the end of the day, quality of the process that throws up the people that eventually become elected officials at the local government levels is important. Therefore, we need to deepen democracy in the internal operations of political parties. We cannot allow a situation where godfathers determine who the candidates. We cannot allow a situation where only the money bags determine who the candidates are. We have a situation where the state independent electoral commissions are independent only in name, because at the end of the day, if you have an election in which candidates of the ruling party at the state level emerge as councillors and as local government chairpersons, then clearly you already know that the quality of the individuals that will be tasked with responsibility to manage the local governments is fundamentally compromised and undermined. And therefore, that will have implications for accountability at the local government level. It will have implications for the quality of governance. So we need to also pay attention to the quality of the process that throws up our elected officials. And as the Pauline Talent pointed out a few minutes ago, civil society needs to be engaged in a very profound manner with the government. Finally, the national president of Nolge was part of the conversation yesterday. Now, it's not states that are in default. Is Nolge the members of state houses of assembly that are against? Is Nolge galvanizing and mobilizing its members to make sure that such individuals are not re-elected? Because ultimately, politics is likely to determine the outcome of what transpires.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Dakas SAN, for your contribution there. We're still coming to you for your second parting shots. This is the first parting shot. So we may still have to come to you, so don't leave yet. But let's come back to the studio where we have Kena. You have listened to the various suggestions, both from the Pauline Talent and also from Professor Dakas. The issue of accountability, the issue of getting civil society engaged, and also the public also involved, you know, in calling for accountability and, you know. But the issue is what mechanism, because, you know, the three tiers of government still have to work together. So what mechanism can foster collaboration while respecting the autonomy of local government?
So thank you very much. The discussions have continued to revolve around incidental elements of the problem. If we get back to the 1976 reform of the local government system, the focus is very clear on what the local government system can be. And it is because the reform, the spirit of the reform, has not been carried along in the course of the system that we've lost it all. The spirit of the reform in 1976 was that the local government system should be the government that every other person should be involved in, whether you're residual there or not. And that it should have been populated by like people who have almost retired and were bringing in their wealth of experiences back to the local setting so that they can then groom new human capital to take over and move over in the course of their development. This is the spirit of the 1976 reform. By the time that the military intervened, there were sufficient physical regulations that, you know, controlled activities at the local government. But now that we're in a democracy, there are so much self-sustaining regimes, laws and regulations that all these things we're talking about now are just because we're running away from the fact that the second tier of government has usurped the political, the economic development of this country, consciously or unconsciously. And it is really, for me, the tier of government that should actually be called to question. Because the second tier of government, those made up of the governors, are the tier of government that has ridiculed our democracy. And I'm glad that history in the last 20 years has shown to us, gives me satisfaction that all former governors are paying the prices for their misdemeanor when they were in the office. Because the governors, when they're in office, have continued to float this idea of federalism. It is in such a way that it's so quack, so unfounded, that they only give it the strength to make it convenient for them to usurp federal power and also the local government power. They don't allow the federal government to superintend over activities that are on concurrent list. They insulate them states from the local government to function, and then they hold on to everything, and at the end of the day, they're not doing anything to promote development in its entire facet. Why I'm saying this is because if you look at the second tier of government today, it is the only inorganic structure we have. Because since the amalgamation in 1914, the two protectorates have become organic. And since the amalgamation, the local government systems have functioned under a different arrangement, where the local people, the counties, then were made up of people of honor in their respective domains. They were having their police, they were having their dispensary, they were having their court and everything, and security arrangements, just like Professor was saying. So we left that and then jumped into a dramatic definition of federalism, not knowing that the Nigerian version of federalism, it did not evolve. It's mechanically created. And because of the phases of the mechanical disruptions, we don't have a set rules of, set of experience that we have acquired in the course of time. And so anybody comes in now with his idea of federalism. Nigerian federalism is a national federalism, because 90% of the regulations of this country are packaged in the constitution by the National Assembly. Every single rule you make in Nigeria translates to the local government. It's effective. That's national federalism. The kind of thing that the states have called colonial reform cannot function here because we didn't have that background. And so if you have found ourselves where we are now, we should make the best use of what we have today. That the national federalism defines that we are all tiers of government, the federal tier, the second tier, and the local government tier. If the third tier of government, which is the local government, is allowed to function, the definitions of corruption that is continuously always a focus of why local government are not allowed is a runaway concern, because let's remove the log in our eyes before we talk of the speck in the other person's eye, because corruption is more endemic, with due respect to the federal government, the first tier of government, because they have over 50% of the funds of this country. The second tier has the next highest share of funds in the local of allocation, even though people like to call it as feeding spoon stuff, democracy. Let's discuss what we have. Let's not theorize. What we have now is what we have. Let's make use of the best things we have. What do you do when you have this kind of situation, when people are not taking responsibility for what they're supposed to be doing on behalf of the people of this country? So if the local government system is allowed to function, we will have complete re-engineering of the Nigerian state in a manner that people will be more attracted to go and take political control of their local government. They will know that anybody coming to look for their votes will negotiate with the principal stakeholders. It's not for the governor to stand in his state government office and determine who will be a senator, who is a house rep, who is a house assembly, who will be a councillor, who will be a chairman. That's what the second tier of government has become. It has become a sub-coup plotter. And because of this, their disposition, they always forget to they'll be out of office after 8 years. And they have become victims of what they have planted over the years. Indeed. So how would you now say a senator will have his political career determined by a governor? The president almost has his political career determined by a collection of governors. So something must be done to separate and limit the power of the second tier of government, because they are the most mechanical link between the organic communities and what the Nigerian state has become as a national federalism. So if there is any tier of government that really needs to be questioned, it's the second tier of government. We need to checkmate it. And I think, you know, initially when the AG brought this case, took this case to Supreme Court, I had my reservations, because the best approach to this is that we have enough we have enough senators and House of Representatives who are victims of former governors' problems, former governors' interventions and machinations, and they are fearing also too that what's going to come out in 2007, that they would rather amend the constitutions fundamentally in the areas of election. I have always been for the national local government election. The most important election in this country is the local government election. And it can be conducted. It was conducted in 1999, and it brought us in. It brought us in almost as independent candidates. You were going to be fielded by your party because you are going to be able to win an election against a contesting opponent. So if we concentrate on the issue of funding, and we don't bring in the context, the element of election, we will not get it right. Because you are sending money to a lackey of a governor who can put in anybody he wants, and he will still take the money through another means.
Now that you've talked about election, I just wanted, there's an ongoing conversation or debate around who should conduct local government elections. Is it the CX that should continue to conduct it, in which case you have seen that every party in power at the state level determines who takes those seats, or should INEC be brought in? That discussion is ongoing. Where do you stand?
My stand has always been that, like the FCT, you see the INEC conducts the affairs of the local government elections in INEC. And you can see how interesting the elections in the FCT is. Very dynamic, very fluid, very people-oriented. People make up their minds on what you do. You understand me? You have an SDP candidate winning election, you have a PDP chairman winning election, you have APC candidate winning elections. It's very mixed up and very, very active, because there is a sufficiently independent organization that is not controlled by anybody conducting elections in FCT. If the National Electoral Commission is allowed to carry out the election in the local government system, we would have planted the seed for the new democratic setting at the local government areas of this country. It will not put the local governors, the governors, in their proper place. And they will know that they will not have the capacity to determine who will be the local government chairman. And so if you send money to that person who has been elected independently of the super influence of the governor, he will act to be able to sustain his goodwill with his people. But as long as we don't bring in the independent arrangement for the election of the local government system, for that long too, will the local government system continue to be an appendage of the state.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, just round up. Just give me 30 seconds. Let's just get a parting shot. Okay. The final parting shot for Professor Daka's SAN on this conversation.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me underscore the imperative need for coordination and partnership among the different tiers and levels of government. As was pointed out in the course of the conversation yesterday, if you have a tripod and one of the legs is faulty, then clearly there is a major challenge that you have to grapple with. So the imperative need for coordination and partnership is there. Let me say very quickly on the case for INEC to conduct local government elections. My view is that that's not the right way to go. Clearly, the state independent electoral commissions are in most respects independent only in name. But what we need to do, consistent with the need to strengthen our health system, is to find mechanisms through which we can strengthen the state independent electoral commissions. I'll give you one clear example. There was a local government election conducted during the tenure of El Rufai as governor of Kaduna State. And they deployed technology in a manner that was constructive, and members of the opposition won elections in quite a number of constituencies. I understand that a similar thing played out in Kano State under Ibrahim Shekarau. And so it's not as hopeless as it is. It is possible to devise mechanisms through which we can strengthen the state independent electoral commissions. Let us not throw the baby away with the bathwater. Let us not be in a hurry to throw every single challenge we have at the federal government, or we send it to the center. I don't think that our federal system
Thank you for your view there, Professor Dakas. Professor Dakas, C.J. Dakas, is a senior advocate of Nigeria, professor of comparative constitutional law, international law, and jurisprudence. Thank you so much for your view on this local government autonomy. Thank you so much for coming. Also, we want to thank you, former chairman, Kiana Local Government, Jibril Sabo Kiana. Thank you so much for your view this morning on local government autonomy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. You didn't allow me to conclude.
Okay, conclude in 30 seconds.
I wanted to say.
30 seconds, please. We don't have time.
That the local government, the federal and the local government system has transformed the federal government to be a federal government of palliatives, the state government of palliatives, local government of palliatives. The legislators have also become legislators of palliatives across the country.
Okay, thank you.
So
everything of palliatives.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. There will still be other time that you will still come on this program, and we will be able to exhaust everything. So that's Good Morning Nigeria for, I am Ademola Adeoye. Thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Right, and I'm Victor Azu. See you again tomorrow.